Hi, I'm Wendy Northcross, CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, and welcome to our sixth edition of 20-Minute Tuesday that we produce in partnership with the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod. And today I'm very honored to be sharing the screen with the chair, president, and CEO of the bank, Lisa Oliver. So Lisa is also, full disclosure, on the Cape Cod Chamber Board of Directors, and we both kind of sit in very unique positions where we have a very interesting view of the region's economy. And I'm really excited today to talk with her and see what her insights are and what she's hearing and what she's predicting, and just have a general conversation today. So a little bit different format for us. And welcome, Lisa. Why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and your role at the bank?
Hi, Wendy, and thank you. It is fun to be here. I think especially this time of the year when there is a lot of excitement. And as I like to say here to my bank team, there's green sprouts everywhere, which means things are in bloom. And that's not just in the garden. So it'll be fun for us to share some of those thoughts and compare what we're seeing, how quickly things are changing and morphing, and how it's definitely looking positive. But to spend just a little time on my background, I am a lifelong banker, all the way back to being a summer teller in college, growing up in Kingston, New York, in the Catskill Mountain area in the Hudson Valley. I have, that career in banking has had me as a commercial lender. That was really my background. I was in commercial lending. I was formerly credit trained, have worked with business clients the majority of my career. And that has taken me, obviously through my the geography of the eastern part of New York State, but basically around all of New England, as I oversaw a large group of teams working with businesses. I actually moved to Cleveland for 15 years with a very understandable spouse, my husband, Richard, and sons, John and Matt. And we were in Cleveland, where I became my regional president for the market out there, and then ended my career with Key out there running the national line of business for business banking. So my business background and working with businesses is deep, and it's a passion of mine because of the engine that it is, the economic engine that it is, helping people, helping employees, helping business owners, helping the community provide services. So my husband, just a point of notice, from Sharon, Mass. So we did meet in New York City, and I think somewhere in my marriage agreement, I promised to get him back to Massachusetts. So here we are. Check mark, accomplished.
Good job. Yeah, and I think you spent time vacationing on Cape Cod before you were lured into the Cooperative Bank's leadership, right?
Yeah. So as a child, we still have a picture in that galley of old family photos of us on Pompanesett Beach way back. And about 25 years ago, we started vacationing with our children every year. So both Cape and Islands, in Nantucket and the Vineyard, as well as spent a lot of time in Truro, and still do, with really good friends that are out there. So it was a passion of ours the whole time we were in Cleveland. We kept trying to figure out how to get back east, number one, and then how to leverage our banking careers, and then how to specifically get back to Cape Cod. So bullseye. We got it.
That's so funny. There's a saying that once you get sand in your shoes, you always come back to Cape Cod. So you figured out a way to be here full time, which is great. It's interesting. You have that great depth of banking experience in different places. So it is interesting. It will be interesting to hear from you now how you see Cape Cod. Perhaps, our economy has these seasonal cycles, and like you said, green sprouts. So green is also when our visitors come back and our second homeowners are here, and that creates a much more busy climate for everyone. So probably not always the same in Cleveland. You probably had a very different business climate. But so what are you seeing for Cape Cod's seasonal economy, or what are you hearing for people getting prepared for, the busy months ahead?
Yeah, well, as you know, we've had great dialogues about this at our chamber board meetings, especially from all of the business owners who sit on the board, the nonprofits, just the general sense of what's happening in the economy here and all the members. So we are, and this ties back into the government relief, which started a year ago as we entered the pandemic days, and we're able to leverage the PPP program, which is still operable. It is still running until the end of May, but this supported economic stimulus allowed businesses to have really a lifeline to get them through the tough times. And for us in our seasonal economy, it was very, very helpful timing wise. We were able to get money into businesses' hands here on the Cape in the hardest part of the year, even in a regular year, which is kind of rounding the horn after the holidays, getting all the way to Memorial Day. And that's when the funds came out last year, and that's when the program was re-upped this year. So that stimulus has allowed, I think, a very positive head of steam as people are looking forward to. We only have a couple months more to go. We've also heard that this ramp up of leading into our season this year it's going to be a great season. I mean, we ended last year talking with clients and businesses across the Cape, employees across the Cape, talking about how the second summer that we have here, we have a late spring, but we have a very late spring, but we have a wonderful second summer, was tremendous last fall. And some even hospitality businesses did better than they had done in regular seasons. And I think we're going to see that continue. When you look at the challenges associated with foreign travel, many people travel abroad. It's likely we'll be able to this summer, but there's still a lot of people very hesitant to do that. We're going to see people coming to the Cape. And this is vacationers for sure, which we know, but a lot of second homeowners. And we've seen that happen throughout the year. So food industry, it kind of goes on and on. Services, all will be in higher demand, and I think that's going to be very successful for our economy. Having been in Cleveland for 15 years, it took on a very different spin because it's a manufacturing economy, number one, so that's very different. And it's year round, like it is in so much of the country. And when you're here, you've got to be really sensitive and focused on where the greatest need is, and how do we make sure during an off season we're actually having more conversations with businesses, because that's when they've got time to speak, and that's when they've got time to plan and arrange and come up with the next phase of their business plan. So we're really excited about it. I think there's a lot of positive momentum, a positive esprit de corps. People are ready for it. We're certainly all ready for some warmer weather, but it's going to be a fun cascade into the season this year.
I love that esprit de corps. We really have been a pretty cohesive community for the last, since the state of emergency was declared over a year ago. I will tell you that what we're seeing at the Cape Cod Chamber for demand is unprecedented. And it used to be 20, 30 years ago, people would make their vacation plans, and by January and February, we knew if the Cape was going to have a good summer or not. But in the recent years, with technology enabling last minute bookings and decision making, it was harder and harder to predict. But this year, it's like back to the future. We know advanced bookings are extremely strong. And we know, too, some of the group business that we've lost, the groups of like not just the motor coach groups that 40 people that come together to travel and tour, but weddings and meetings, and a lot of that business has been pushed off to the fall. So I think just as we saw last fall, people felt more comfortable by Labor Day to get out and about. This year, come September, October, a lot of that meeting business has been moved to the shoulder season, which is great for us because that's what elongates that economic cycle. Then people, can continue to earn a living, and the businesses can continue to depend on that cash flow. Very different year. It's a very different year for sure.
I think so too. And actually the businesses, because of PPP, again, this is a generalization because there have been businesses that have really struggled. There have been businesses that have closed and people have lost jobs. And we have to recognize that it's not all great news. And what I'm looking forward to is businesses being able to re-engage, grow, maybe restart up and get more people back and employed. But what I will say is those that did get PPP funds, we know there's been a shift in how people spent their money as a consumer. We're just not going out. We're not traveling. People's savings accounts are generally higher. And businesses have cash, they've taken a conservative approach. There hasn't maybe been expansion. They've pivoted. They've been able to take a tougher look at expenses, decide what are, our hard costs that can't be moved. You've got to pay a loan, you've got to pay electricity, there's things that just have to be paid regardless of how much revenue is coming in. But those that have been a little bit more fungible expenses, businesses have been very conscious of. So the coffers, the cash that is available to get the season going, then hopefully make a tremendous amount of bottom line monies that'll then continue into the fall. I'm very excited to see what happens. And we see that the proof of it is that the bank's balance sheet sees the effect of those inflows and outflows. So we have more liquidity, and we're not the only bank. This is a banking phenomenon this year. Banks have more liquidity, meaning we have more deposits in our coffers than we've had in lifetimes. I have never seen this much cash on balance sheets before. And it's waiting for the what's next. It's being more conscious of having funds for a downturn, for that rainy day. And again, it's businesses and consumers. So we see that across the board.
So it's really interesting to think about, the consumer has like all-time savings, even with massive job losses, that stimulus money that's been flowing out of Washington, D.C. and potentially hasn't stopped, has really been a tremendous backstop. So you're right. There are some winners and losers, absolutely. And we do see a certain percentage of businesses that have just closed, but because we offer business, counseling and advice, we're seeing a lot of people come in like, I've got an idea. And this is the time that they want to act on that idea. We also see a lot of people on the Cape looking for commercial real estate. They see it as an opportunity, a moment in time, and there may be some bargains out there, but they're looking at that Cape Cod real estate as a good investment.
Yeah, and you are spot on with that, Wendy. It is, we have a lot of money in deposits, but there are many people borrowing. Commercial real estate, people who have rented properties see it as a great opportunity to buy, and that's being driven by the fact that the interest rates have been so low. I mean, unprecedented low interest rates. So when you think about borrowing to own your own place, it may be less or an equal amount to what you're paying in rent at the end of the day. And now you've got a piece of equity, a piece of an asset that you're able to build upon. And we see that happening across the board. It could be investors looking to buy investment properties. It is people buying multifamily homes, people interested in building multifamily homes. And we all know how needed that is here on the Cape. So we're seeing a lot of movement in that regard. Rates are starting to tick up, which always, in a short-term view, it's, the rates are going up. But when you consider they're still so low, if you look at the past 10 years, they're ridiculously low. We're not at the bottom anymore. That's a good thing, I think, because when you're at the bottom, that usually means there's a negative component to what's going on in the economy. So seeing a little life, even in the interest rates, and for all those who live off fixed income, interest rates going up is a good thing. So there's always a scale of value associated with the interest rate curve, but borrowing is happening. There's no question.
So it's very interesting because there's a lot of parallels to what's happening now as to what happened 100 years ago. So 100 years ago, there had been another pandemic in 1918, 1919. In 1920, we celebrated the 300th anniversary of the arrival of the Pilgrims. Cape Cod's economy was very different. We had basically a major recession and depression on Cape Cod. There'd been a lot of people that moved away. Young families had moved away 100 years ago because farming and fishing was depleted, or so they said it was depleted then. And that's the exact same time that the Roaring 20s were starting up, right? So people were coming out of that pandemic. They were coming out of into a new century, and they were starting to spend money, and they were starting to do different things. And that's when the Cape Cod Chamber was formed to help build a travel and tourism industry 100 years ago. And it's also the 100th anniversary of when the cooperative bank was created, right? So very interesting times. And I think we are re-entering kind of this hyper fast moving, high charged, people are out there with some money and they're going to be doing some things. So like put your seatbelt on, but it's also kind of fun. You and I having both of our
100
organizations
years.
having an anniversary at the same time. So tell us a little bit about what you've got planned at the bank to celebrate.
I think about 100 years ago, well, especially now because it's really relevant, but there's a number of organizations. I just think about the last few years, the next couple of years of businesses on the Cape, in addition to yours and ours, that are celebrating 100 years. So would have been a fascinating time on Cape Cod to have been here 100 years ago. And that's part of what we're trying to capture is a celebration of what has happened in the 100 years that the Coop has been here, the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod, or Cape Cod Cooperative Bank, as our official registry is called, and how the bank has evolved, but yet done the same thing, which is to put clients and community first. As a mutual bank, that's what it has been about. So our goal is to celebrate that journey. We have a let's call it a campaign, but a recognition of 100 reasons to love the Coop, which involve the reasons we love our communities and our clients, how our employees think about working here, having worked here, how our community partners think about, but for the Cape, but for the Cooperative Bank of Cape Cod, how would things have been different? And so we're celebrating that. We've launched our 100-day countdown to our birthday, which is July 19th of this year. And we're between now and then going to be giving $100,000 away to community organizations. We'll be announcing these on a regular basis, with the full list being revealed July 19th. And this is on top of the donations we already make. So having created our foundation a couple of years ago here, we've really been able to leverage increased giving. And that is ultimately our purpose. It's to protect and serve our clients, help them manage their deposits and keep them safe. It's to give them loans, and it's to take our bottom line money and turn it back into the community. And that's what we've been doing. So we are going to celebrate all of that. The employees are going to have a chance to give $10,000 away, and we're looking for some excitement around July. Pandemic changes considered here, that we'll be able to have some fun. And I think fun getting together, fun celebrating successes, fun recognizing all that is Cape. So it is like an opportunity for just a huge party in so many ways. Hopefully we'll all be just celebrating getting back to some level of normal.
Yeah, being in person together is going to be really exciting. I think the good news is the Cape is really ahead of the curve for vaccination rates. As we are recording this today, 50% of Cape Codders have at least one shot, and there's no slowing down there. So I do believe by July there'll be a lot more confidence, and people will be able to convene. We are hoping to have our annual meeting in person on June 9th. That remains to be seen, but I think people are just itching to get back together again. And I think that's great that the Coop can be a convener and bring not just your employees back together, but your customers and clients and folks as well.
We've had a quiet project in the works here at our headquarters on Benjamin Franklin Way off of Independence. And we had planned to remodel the headquarters. The building is about 16 years old. We have had a couple tenants, and we just outgrew that tenancy structure, and we've opened the whole thing up. And the silver lining, which I think when we all take a step back and take a deep breath, we recognize there have been many silver linings, but the ability to actually take a live build, and with everybody being home, speed that up and affect outcomes. This building should be ready for employees to come back and for us to share with the community right around July, right around the birthday. So not intended up front. It's just all the way it's all sort of fallen into place. So we're excited to, as a convener, make this a resource that's available much more broadly than just for the bank.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a great investment too. Thank you for investing in your employees and taking great care of them. I know it's been a challenging time trying to manage, that safety. You've had people on the front line that have had to be very protective of their health, their customers' health, and it's been, not without its stress. So I'm
Well,
sure
and thank you for recognizing that, because we're just similar to everybody going through life without a playbook, meaning there is no history to what we did last time that informs decisions for today. We're establishing that history now. Hopefully it will never have to be used again. Yeah. I don't necessarily think that's true. It probably will, but at least there'll be some level of playbook, rules, regulations, things to do if this happens in the future. But we've all worked together, and best practices learned from other companies around the Cape, and for us, the relentless conversation about what do we do for our clients to keep them safe and provide services, and for our employees. And as we speak right now, the Cape is still high in a positivity rate, and we've been using some of these numbers to evaluate whether branches should be open or closed. And for all sides of that equation, the employees, the clients, we have shut those in the higher level positivity rates. We do have a couple of branches open full service, but it has been frustrating. They've been open, they've been closed, they've been open, knowing though that the whole time it's the lobbies that are opening and closing. The drive-through has never ceased operation, nor will it. So people can always go to the branch and get support at the drive-through, even things that normally wouldn't happen at a drive-through. And they can always pick up the phone and call. Certainly 800 numbers, ATMs, mobile banking, online banking, all of that's available. So the bank's never shut. It's just been the lobbies that have gone back and forth between open and closed. But we're really just trying to help people stay safe and do our part to help stop the spread, because oftentimes people don't know that, hey, they have COVID before it's diagnosed, and they've just been around just too many people. So,
well, it's also been a great movement towards adoption of digital banking, wouldn't you say? I mean, they kind of had to do it, so now they're finding out how convenient it is, how many tools the bank has to make it easy for people, whether you're in business or just, a residential mortgage customer. I mean, you really have made it much easier to do those transactions online.
Yeah, and it's what's interesting as an old bank, there's a trust in established when you've been around for many years. There's also this like old spider web closet that people are like, that bank can't be able to serve me. So what it's allowed us to do is show the fact that we are trying to represent trust and security in the age of the institution, as well as being very current and competitive with things that other banks offer. And we've spent the last year teaching every client how to bank remotely. And that doesn't meet the needs of those who really enjoy coming to the branch as a social outlet, want to have face-to-face conversations, and that can still happen. We can do it on WebEx, and we'll meet people in the branches, but it plays into this question that banks have: what does the next 3 to 5 years of strategic growth look like, and where does my next dollar of net income go to as a reinvestment? Every business deals with this. For banking, is it more brick and mortar? Is it more branches? Is it more ATMs? Is it more hard structure? Is it more digital access? Is it more products and services that allow people to be remote? And the pandemic has advanced this need for digital approach easily 3 years, because people had to adapt right away to figuring out how to bank remotely. So it's going to be an interesting journey over the next 3 to 5 years in banking. I mean, it's been for the last 25, if not the entire history of banking, but certainly the digital, the advent of computers, computer usage, digital banking. I remember when ATMs were this crazy new fandangled thing, and now ATMs are kind of not as much. It'll be about digital banking in that future. So it's trying to manage all. It's trying to be there for every client in the way they want to bank, and that's the juggle on how we do it. But we're going to try to do it all.
So we're wrapping up now. I'm just thinking about 100 years ago. Do you think the founders of the bank ever imagined that people would be doing the transactions that we're doing now online? I mean, it would be kind of interesting to see their reaction today. I think they'd be very proud of the bank, that you're still here, you're growing, you've got a great team and great leadership.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for spending
Thanks.
some time with us
Yeah.
today, Lisa. Any wrap-up comments you want to offer?
No, I love that. I love that question you just asked, and that'll be a fun one for us to think about here, because 100 years ago, I'm sure they didn't even think you'd be able to drive your car up to a branch, or those who had cars or were still riding horses. Like how would you bank and how would you have access? Much less where we are today. So it's quite a journey. It's quite a thing to think about. So thanks for taking the time. It's always fun to talk to you and to especially be able to highlight the positive notes that are around us in the green sprouts.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is actually the last 20-minute Tuesday that I'll be co-hosting as the CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber. So one of the big handoffs for the Chamber is my retirement, and off to a new leader there with a new strategic plan and a great business community supporting that all the way, and that's including you and the bank, and I want to thank you for that. So,
well, Wendy, you will be so missed. Where no one's going to let you go anywhere. You need to know that. But you're so respectful in the way you're approaching this, as I am involved in the conversations, and I know you're going to give the new leader the breath he or she needs to take it to the next level. But you are such a resource, and I know, as I said, will not go far. You've really become that voice of reason and calm and advocacy that I think the Cape needs and wants as a community. And I thank you for that, because you've done just amazing things during your tenure there.
Thanks, Lisa. Couldn't have done it alone. Have great partners like you.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to thank our viewers today for tuning in to our 20-minute Tuesday. And as always, you can leave suggestions on the website for future topics. We're going to take a break until September, and can't wait to see you all, hopefully on the beach or the hiking trails this summer. Hope everyone stays healthy, stay masked, and be well. Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks. Bye-bye.